Ah, you know what? Hi, Adam.
There we go. Gotta turn my volume on, David. How are you?
That'll help. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I have a physical therapy appointment right after this I gotta get to before work, so I gotta do Zoom today.
And why are you going to physical therapy?
My back's been pretty achy for the
Oh,
past few weeks, and then I've been going to a GI doctor who had ordered a CAT scan of my abdomen and pelvis.
yep.
Didn't find anything in the gut, but incidentally saw a stress fracture on L5.
Shit.
So that could be why I sometimes get a little achy when I, do too much disc golf or work out or on the bike or too much Tai Chi. It's
Yeah.
kind of gets real tight and all the muscles in the lower back go into a
Huh.
spasm. They don't want to let go.
Yeah. Will that correct itself?
I don't know. I'm hoping. Hey, good morning, Bill.
Morning, Bill.
Morning.
My primary care said start with PT, see how that goes, and if you're still having trouble after some PT, then they'll put a referral into like an ortho spine surgeon. But
Yeah.
I think the only thing that an ortho spine surgeon would do would be like an L5S1 fusion, and I don't know how much of a problem it is, if how I really feel about that. Because that's a pretty big surgery.
Yeah. I feel very negatively about that.
Yeah, usually for that, Aaron said that they have to do an anterior approach. So they, going through the front, push all your guts aside to get access to it. So it's, even though it's in the back, it's not like they're right there, so it's a pretty major operation. When maybe I just need to learn to, modify what I'm doing or spend a little more time on mobility and stuff.
Yep.
I don't spend a lot of time stretching. So I think if there's a little more elasticity in the tissue there,
Yep.
especially around the hips, it might help. So
Opening your energy gates.
opening the energy gates. And, I was also kind of looking at it. I never really rest per se. My idea of resting from one thing is to take up the next activity, so I rest from weightlifting by going disc golfing, and rest from disc golfing by, mountain biking and skiing. And I rest from that by, doing some Tai Chi and getting back on the bike. So,
And going to work somewhere in between.
Yeah, somewhere in between spending 10 to 12 hours on a hard concrete floor. So I kind of decided maybe I would take like the next couple months and actually lay off just about everything. Aside from Tai Chi. So
Yeah.
see if
Adam,
that helps things heal up.
yeah, I missed the very beginning. What's going on?
I have a stress fracture on my L5.
Okay,
So,
I had a pop disc at L4, so
oh,
quite some years ago, and it was the same. I heard what you said about, okay, PT and then maybe a surgeon, and I had the same thing, and it actually resolved 2 weeks before surgery was scheduled. So,
oh, good.
it pulled back in, but I've had lower back problems forever. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I had to stop running because of the pounding. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And everybody, all the doctors said, that's just inviting disaster with the
Mm.
Yeah.
the spine, all the vertebrae knocking into each other. So,
Yeah. So we'll see.
yeah.
Adam, do you remember, is Joanne likely to be here today?
I don't think Joanne's coming. She had
A conference, yeah.
something. I don't remember if it was
That
a
was
meeting or
last
she
week.
was
I
taking a
think she said she was going to be in
trip.
Washington.
Oh,
Wasn't she here last week?
Yeah, she was here last week.
she was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good, okay.
I think so. 'Cause, last week we ended a little early and then we had a pretty extensive conversation about the Wu style.
Yep.
Incorporating some of the shoulder stuff in there.
Right. I
And
remember
I think she was
now.
saying that this week she was gonna be away.
Yeah. Mr. Bynum, are you there?
His name is.
Yeah, he's got a name. Good for a start, but oh, there he is.
Hey,
Here I am. My Zoom, it was weird. My Zoom said Zoom updating.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got into the meeting and everything was frozen up after it updated. So, but it looks like it's good now.
Yeah, you're here. Great. Good.
I did hear a little bit about all these back plague problems,
Oh,
which I share. I have arthritis in my low L5 and L4 and down there,
Oh, yeah.
which
I highly recommend the Taoist spine stretch from Energy.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
really works.
I find just the C curve is nice.
Yeah,
That's one thing. There's been a number of these sessions right from the beginning where I sat down and I said, do I really want to do this today? Because my low back was hurting. And without exception, at the end of our classes, I'm at least a few notches better, if not better, way better than where I was to start with. So
great. Yeah, I have the same experience. We all have back issues. What is this?
I don't know. You think we could put it?
Modern America is what.
Yeah. You'd think we'd put it behind us. I'm sorry, guys.
That was a bad one, Bill. Okay. So how are your shoulders and your scapula?
At least they're not at L4.
Well, there is that.
Mm.
However, in relation to what we're working on in this class,
They're good. They're, I think, moving better. There's a point in 5 when your arms come down that I feel like the scapula disconnect from what the arm is doing. So maybe we could kind of look at that a little bit. It feels like if you let your arms go down too low, the scapula run out of range. They kind of run out of motion. They hit the end of their range.
yeah,
But your arms are still, really not down low enough to get in front of the dantian. So it feels like, well, then the arms just kind of move on their own.
huh, okay. Yeah, we can look at that. That's a really good thing to look at. I don't know if we'll get there today, but I have some more work on 5. But Bill?
Yeah, I think most of the time the exercises are going well. I just have to watch out for the tendency to muscularly lift, yeah, so and that creeps in. So
Well, you're aware of it, so that's the
yeah.
positive here.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Mr. Bynum?
Yeah, I'd echo what Bill just said, that, staying relaxed muscularly and doing the motions is often at odds. So,
Okay. So based on that, I think what I'd like you to do is to do, I guess maybe do 10 repetitions of 1 through 5. And let me just kind of see what's, as well as I can here on Zoom, what's going on. And Adam, I will look at your 5
Okay,
when we get there.
sounds good.
Okay. Sit down, and relax. Um, I'll look at some specific things in a moment. Adam, I think one of the issues for you, it just feels like your shoulders and upper arms and elbows are stiff and kind of stuck.
Okay.
So that often there is no movement in or out of the elbows.
Through all of them or 5?
And I'm talking about all the way through.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'll be more specific in a moment, but just
Okay.
a general thing to look at. For all of you, remember that the arms, if they are not crossed and specifically coming up the center, are coming up the sidelines of the body. So you have to think about that, and not when you're doing a posture where the arms are coming down the sidelines. Yes, you want to get the elbows in as much as possible, but when the elbows have to go out, that doesn't mean the hands come into the center. And that's happening to all 3 of you from time to time.
Okay.
So
Does that happen at the bottom, David, primarily?
it happens in the lower part of the movement, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when our elbows finally are going out, our hands are going in instead of staying on the sidelines.
Right, exactly, exactly. In one, if I were to select the right camera, it'll be a little easier for you to see me. How's that?
Hi, David.
Yeah, wow.
See
You're rushing
anything?
in season.
That wasn't what I meant to do.
Yeah, we all need a little time machine.
So, for instance, in one of the things I noticed happening was that as the arms were coming up, the elbows were staying, not getting clear in when they could. So the elbows are constantly rotating, they're constantly moving. And that's part of that connection to the scapula. Particularly at this stage. Eventually, since you've had other practices where we worked on this, yes, eventually you want the scapula to be the mover of the arms, but at this stage it's perfectly all right to focus on the movement of the elbows to contribute to the movement of the scapula. So really being aware that the elbows, I should have worn a short sleeve shirt today. The elbows are constantly coming in and going out a little. And they don't go, when they go out, you want to make sure you don't let the hands come into the center, because you're working here with those sidelines. in 2. Remember the 2 is a squat, and 4 and 5 are folds. And it is important to make that distinction. So 2 is a squat. You're bending forward and going down and up. And make sure that you don't how to say this, that you don't lose the coordination of your body with the arms, or the arms with the body. So that the extending out is going all the time you're raising up, and the bending in is happening all the time that you're going down. So that those are really connected together. 3 was another place where I could see the elbows not working as fully as they could. And it's actually at this, as I said, at this stage, it's better to use the elbows. Yeah, eventually you might have very little or almost no movement of the elbows, but that's not where we are at the moment. So when we get to that point where we're doing this, the elbows are moving. They're moving depending on which way you're doing this, but in whatever it is, there is a continuous movement of the elbows, and it's related to the movement of the scapula. And keeping the hands on the sidelines in 3 too. It's not, don't bring the hands into the center. 4, so what I was saying about 4 is to make sure that you don't end up making this a squat instead of a fold. 2 different things.
Yeah.
And Adam, you were tending to really squat.
Okay.
I think, Adam, and 4 also, I mean, that again, the elbows. Oh, and in 4, the really the difficult point that all of you seem to have a little bit of an issue with is when you get to this point where you've reached the extent of your etheric body, the next thing that happens is your elbows begin to drop. Your shoulders relax and the elbows drop as the arms come up. It isn't that you get to here and the arms circle with the elbows still going out and then they come in. They immediately, you get to here and the elbows rotate down as you complete that circle. Adam, I think your issue in 5 is actually bringing the arms too low.
Oh, okay.
Because what you were doing was a much larger movement than you really need to do in 5. But so what was happening was that you were getting clear down in front of your thighs and then trying to make the connection. And you want to think about actually making that connection at the quad as you come down, which means that instead of going down here and then coming up, you want to let the arms go forward so that they don't go so low. And you can make that connection at the quad and dantian and up and then go out. Okay,
Okay.
oh. That's more than enough to think about.
No, that was good. Thank you.
Questions? Anybody have a question, comment?
I did have in 3 at 12 and 6. Is there much difference between the arm position? This is sort
No.
of back to basic. There's not really, right?
No,
It's, yeah, okay.
okay.
Yes, yeah, that's sort of a review question. Yeah,
Listen,
I just was getting fuddled a little bit at 6.
don't hesitate to ask those kind of questions, because quite frankly, that goes on continuously in this. You have to keep checking back, and so any other questions in there? How did you feel about your scapula movement in there?
Mine felt kind of loose. Not sure. I was battling my knee throughout, but I think my shoulders and scapula felt loose enough. So,
Yep,
Yeah.
they look, actually, Bill, yours looked quite good.
okay, thank you.
I could see that.
Yeah. For me, mine felt uneven a couple of times, of the 10, like 4 or 5 of them would feel good, and it was erratic, I guess I'd say.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think that's quite typical. As a matter of fact, I don't know, I mean, I know that I've said it, and I don't know, other students I've heard it said many times, and that is, you go into the next movement and it takes 3 or 4 movements before it starts to come together.
Yeah, it clicks in, and then you think about something else and it clicks out. And
Right. Exactly. So don't stress about that, but as you continue to practice, I think those things will smooth out.
Well, I hope so, because it's certainly a distraction. It makes it feel less meditative or natural when you're continually correcting, and then you get it, and then it then it doesn't. And it's
Yeah.
it's a lot of brain noise going on there.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're talking about, a lot of detail. We're not even a quarter of the way through this.
That means I need to go out and buy another ream of paper.
Probably you do. Believe me. You just have to try to be really consistent about doing as much practice as is reasonable for you, and try to just stay abreast of where we're going, and recognize that it's going to take a while before all of these things begin to click into place. And it obviously also has to do with, how much of this work you've done before, and how well you did it. So you guys are doing, all 3 of you look to me like you're doing pretty well, actually. This is, I'm just trying to give you some refinements that will really actually principally increase the flow of the energy. That's what we're really primarily interested in here. How did you feel, Adam?
I didn't feel like I was not moving the scapula as well as I had been
Mhm.
earlier this week. Some of the postures were definitely stiffer than others. 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Was one. I think 2 felt pretty good for me. And I don't know why that one seems to be a little easier than 5, even
It
though the
is.
motion is pretty similar, but it feels much easier to get the scapula moving, and kind of the focusing on that spiral seems easier there too. So
Good.
yeah,
I think also, we're not, I don't think we're going to get to it today, but we're going to really do some work on understanding condensing and what
Mm.
that means in the rest of the movement,
mhm,
because that's not a concept that we introduced before this point.
mhm,
So it makes, and you only do it in 5 and 6. You don't do it in 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 7 when we do 7. So it's it is something really new, and it really changes the movement.
mhm.
So we're going to do some more work on that. But we're going to look at it. Actually, I'd like to look at another another aspect relating to kidney breathing. And actually, I don't know if you remember, but movement 4, if we are to focus the postures on specific energies, movement 4 is focused on kidneys. And we're going up and down, and we have talked a little bit about the C curve, spine bending and shooting to bring you up and down. But there's something else that we need to consider. Anytime you're squatting or folding, your knees are involved. And unfortunately, knee replacement surgery, as people get older, is a social phenomena that I would love to see decrease. It's not fun. And I can second that. So we want to look at 2 things. From the point of Chinese medicine, Chinese energy work, our knees are directly connected to your kidneys. And that means that whenever you fold or squat up and down, your kidneys are really getting worked. Now, your kidneys are responsible for a lot of other things, but in terms of energy circulating throughout your internal organs, your kidneys are the ones that kick it off. So in that one sense, in terms of your internal organs, it has the same power that the lower Dantian does. It is not the king of your internal organs, but in terms of circulating energy in and between your internal organs, your kidneys are king. They're the ones that start the process. No beginning, no middle, no end. So that's what it boils down to. Classically in Qigong, any up and down squatting of the legs was always known to directly relate to the kidneys. So the biggest thing that you want to do now is to focus on kidney breathing. And that's when you breathe and you actually extend and contract your kidneys. Not in the sense of your kidneys have to get used, but think of your kidneys as contained in a sphere, each one of them. And you are creating this pressure into it and away from it, and into it and out of it, to cause every kind of fluid and energetic interchange possible. But you want to get the sense your kidneys doing what they're doing being directly linked to your knees. And while we're talking about the knees, you have to look at them from two perspectives. The first one is the obvious one, the outside of the knee. The back of the knee is actually dealing with what is inside the knee. Something that is important to consider, and those of you who have done energy gates and other energy arts Qigong, forgive me if I'm boring you because it is important. The inside of your knees are going to relate very much to the center of your kidneys, and the outside of your knees relate to the patella and the sides of your knees. They relate to the flesh that surrounds your kidneys, because that's the energetic correspondence in the body. That is what each one kicks off inside the body. And I'm going to take you through a simple exercise to help you understand that connection. But we're going to make this a little bit more than just ordinary breathing. Once you can feel the general pressure on your kidneys, you become aware of the core in the center and what's around each one. Center to periphery, as it were. You have what is more toward the outside and what is right in the middle of each one. And if you can differentiate those at all, it'll be very useful for you. Because whatever you're going to focus, whenever you're going to focus on the cavity of the knee, which is inside the back, then you want to focus on the sense of your kidney breathing from the center of it. And if you're more focusing what is happening on the outside of the knee, then you want to focus more on the outside of your kidneys. And just a slight awareness can amplify whatever benefit you're about to get from this exercise. So I'm going to ask you to lie down again.
Okay.
So lie on your back and knees folded up, feet on the floor. So that your lower back, where your kidneys are, is pressing into the ground. And this is the beginning position. So just want your kidneys pressing into the ground because you need to have the counterpoint of the ground. Now, all of you know how to breathe with your belly. So I want you to inhale and to press your lower back and the area of your kidneys into the ground so that you're pressing into your kidneys. And when you exhale, let your stomach deflate and let your kidneys kind of spring back. So as you inhale, press the kidneys into the ground and have a sense of the kidneys expanding. Then exhale and let the kidneys get smaller and let them start moving upwards. That's all you're doing. Your back is pressing into the floor. So this expansion of your kidneys is now hitting the ground. And therefore the ground is going to press on your kidneys so you know what's going on. I want you to breathe as though you have a very thin tube going from your nose down to your kidneys. And I want that thin tube to go to the very center of your kidneys. Think of your kidneys as a bullseye and go right to the very center, not the rings around the outside. Now try to breathe so that you put a bit more emphasis on expanding and deflating the very center of your kidneys. Make it nice and smooth. The tube is thin so that you can laser focus your breath. And now let that tube get a little larger and focus on the outside of your kidneys. The sense of pressure is making you feel more like you're putting pressure on the outside of your kidneys, the outer rings of the bullseye. And now let the outside of your kidneys get bigger and smaller. Let the breathing put pressure on the outside of your kidneys, putting more pressure on them, activating them more. Now release that pressure and let the activation diminish. And just relax your breath. So this is basic kidney breathing, And now, unlike any breathing we've talked about before, we're not taking this to where we're now taking this to where it wants to be in God's. We're making a difference between the outside and the inside of the back of the knee. And now I want you to stand up.
Easy for you to say, David.
It's not the easiest part of this, I know. And stay standing. Get into a good standing position. Be aware of your structure. Breathe and extend your mind through your body. And then begin to do movement 4, the one where we're focusing on kidney breathing. And first, breathe into the outside of your kidneys and the outside of your knees. See if you can feel that connection. Now begin to breathe into the center of your kidneys, focusing on the soft back and inside area of your knees. And feel that connection. Remember, in 4, you are folding down as the arms come down, and then you're rising up as the arms go up. So while that movement is much smaller in 5 and 6, it is not smaller in 4. You're doing the full folding that you can do without distorting your structure. Okay, relax, and you can sit down. questions about that? Or thoughts, comments?
Hmm.
I thought I could detect the difference lying down. And I felt that my kidneys in general were not pressing as hard into the floor when I was focused on the center.
Mhm.
And then standing and doing 4, well, as you know, I'm so protective of my knee that I had trouble focusing on the connection between the.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I found it a little easier to focus on the center of the kidneys. I found when increasing the size of the straw and trying to focus on a broader area,
Yeah,
Mhm.
felt easier to lose the kidneys and just be kind of breathing into the lower back.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Okay.
interesting that other people have had the opposite.
hmm,
So
okay.
obviously it's individual,
Yeah, right.
as always.
I
Bill?
think I'm generally having a hard time getting in touch with the kidneys, although lying down was interesting because I maybe for the first time almost started to feel a connection, but with the right kidney, but the left kidney is just sort of that part of, you know, it's, I felt like I was getting a little connection with the right kidney. And I'm thinking about these things, but feeling a connection and thinking about it is 2 different things.
Yes, it is.
So,
Well, and at the beginning, you've got to think about it. And so, um, as usual, it's practicing until you don't have to think about it, but can just focus on feeling it.
Hmm.
And it,
Yeah.
and that's good. I think you all did perfectly well. This is again a connection that we don't, at least in the energy arts, we don't introduce until we get to this level. So this is another of those more advanced pieces that can have a significant effect when you can incorporate it and make it smooth and easy. And I'm sure at the moment it doesn't seem easy, or at least
No.
it didn't seem easy to me when I started into it.
No.
So, any
I-
other, go
I
ahead.
will say, from the beginning to where we are now, there is a natural flow to it, and I'm feeling connections. It's just as you press on with the organ connections and those things, it's clear that there's frontiers beyond it, but I think it's really valuable even right now. So
Hmm.
Thanks. I think that's true. This is a very powerful practice, and I think at every level it can be very beneficial.
Hmm.
So, any other thoughts at the moment? That ought to be enough to keep you busy.
Certainly.
And I do encourage you, if you can, to do some of that practicing the breathing lying down, because I think it does help make that connection.
yeah.
So I encourage you to use that at least for a few days, as well as trying to find it in 4.
Sure.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Good class, guys.
Yep. See you next week.
Yes, absolutely. Enjoy the
care.
spring.
yes.
So you're running off?
I have time. PT appointment is kind of like 11:15, so
Oh, you've got a
Yeah.
minute or two anyway.
yeah. But it was gonna be too tight to get from East Haddam to Hamden.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
And I don't know, we'll see how this place is. It was recommended by my doctor, but I'm sure there's a big variation in physical therapists.
Huge, huge.
Yeah, I'm a little leery because I kind of know what physical therapy in the hospital is like. I hope the place is a little more robust than they're gonna just say like, well, can you walk up and down stairs and sit down and stand up from the toilet? Then you're good to go. Like, what are you complaining about? So we'll see. It's supposed to be more of a sports focused, like physical therapy and injury recovery type of place. So hopefully it's a little more.
I didn't find those to be most beneficial.
Oh,
Um,
okay. So
when I had my knee, I had a great physical therapist who came to the house. And I really liked her, and I talked to her about who I should follow up with, because I was very unhappy with a couple of others that I had gone to, who spent their time looking at their computer, telling me what I should be doing, and not really observing or helping or so I went to a place in Colchester, actually, and had an absolutely fabulous woman there. But
oh, good.
Colchester is not convenient for you, so
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it is. There might be a sense of trial and error, and you just gotta like go to a few of them and feel it out.
I think you do have to some extent, because
Sorry, what's that, David?
I was just going to say, I think there's a huge range of approaches in physical therapy. So, and sometimes you need more one way than another. Yeah, I think you have to just try them and see.
Right. So we'll see. Now that I know, that there is an issue, I almost wonder how much I can just do myself by being more mindful of that fact and adjust what I'm doing to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Take some time to let things heal up, and then really focus on rebuilding, core strength, and kind of focus on strengthening the stabilizers around your spine and hips, instead of focusing on like any big exercises that focus on big muscle groups. And a lot more emphasis on flexibility and mobility training stuff. So
yeah, I found that approach very helpful for my back.
yeah, I mean, I've been taking like time off from everything for the past week, everything except Tai Chi, no bike, no disc golf, pretty much no exercise in any meaningful way, and doing about an hour of foam rolling and stretching and mobility stuff.
Yep.
Along with the Tai Chi, and in 1 week, it's like night and day difference. So
Cool. Good.
I think we'll see what PT has to offer, but if they're not that great, or if I can't find a good one, after a few of them, I think I might just see what I can do on my own, now that I know that, there's something there that needs time to heal.
Yeah.
So
Good.
we'll see.
Yep.
But hopefully next week I should be there in person, pending any other things that come up here. Yeah. As far as the forum, I think I made some progress with the scapula. I tried to experiment in the first paragraph with really feeling out the types of energies as we
Mhm.
move through the postures. That was a bit murky. You know, I think it's tough because the point I'm at, feeling a good flow of the energy feels like an accomplishment. Now, differentiating types of energy feels, I don't know, like a stretch goal, I guess I would call it. You know, even when we doing the 8-gate standing practice, it feels like just keeping the arms full of energy and pulsing without getting stiff or rigid is kind of like where I'm at, but the energy feels the same more or less no matter the arm position. It doesn't feel like the energy itself is different.
Hmm.
So it feels like it's moving in a different direction, if that makes sense. But maybe I'm overthinking, you know, like looking for a different quality in the way it feels.
Maybe. I think one of the things is to be very clear in your thinking to begin with on the difference between each of the 8 energies. So because there's all kinds of energy moving all the time in both, in all directions. And so to a certain extent, intent has to be involved in differentiating different energies. So when you think about the difference between press forward and push downward, it's very easy to confuse the two. And that one of the reasons that I really have gone to using Bruce's push downward instead of push is because very often we have thought of the postures using on energy as just being pushed out, which in a way is G. And you could have a push that's G, but that's not, that's a different energy than push downward. Which has, well, it has 2 components, but anyway, it's, you know, you're not working with the same energy. You are working with the same energy, obviously, but you're not working with the same quality of the energy. And so you have to be clear in your mind and your intent on what is the energy that you want to feel. Recognizing that Peng is rising outwardly, moving energy, and Liu is absorbing, drawing in energy, and moving downward often, but not necessarily. It's, you know, so maybe, I don't know, I think I've given you the handouts on the 8 energies.
Yeah.
You might think about that. Really the main thing to focus on at first is the first 4 energies, Peng, Lu, Ji, and An, because the second 4 are combinations of the first 4. And so it can be a little confusing, but if you could be clear about those first four energies, then it becomes a little easier to think about the second four.
Right, okay.
And indeed, Penglu Jianan are the energies that most often that we're working with or endeavoring to use.
Mhm.
The others come in from time to time. Liais, split, and Sai, pull down, of course. Elbow strike, elbow energy, that's clear, really. That's show. So there, it just is really, I understand what you're saying, because I think I went through the same feeling that, gosh, they all feel the same. But then I began to realize, no, I don't want them to feel the same. And if I really think about it, if I really focus on what I'm endeavoring to project here or draw in here, it's not the same.
Mhm.
So this is a difficult piece of this, of any form. It's kind of interesting. Lewis decided a few months ago that he really wanted to focus on that in the Yang style. So I've actually been teaching that in the Yang style. And you can only work on a posture or two at a time. Because sometimes you have multiple energies appearing in one posture. So and the same energy does not necessarily appear in both arms.
Right.
And that's the case also in the Wu style, even when the hands are in the same position. Actually, one is, for instance, that's really why when you go into Peng, the first movement, one hand is higher. This hand is doing Peng. This hand is actually doing On, push downward. I really like to think of it as arm rather than hand, but that's how we think of it. G is really two Peng forces coming together. So it's one where very often you do have the same energy in both arms.
Okay.
But not always. There are places where you go in like you have a punch, which is clearly G, and you have the other arm doing Liu, deflecting. Or it can be doing other things too. But
Keep it simple. So maybe that's part of the issue for me, is looking for more than what is actually going on. So with the different energies, are they primarily, I guess, let me start again. Is the difference in the energies primarily felt in the arms only? Because it feels like for a lot of the energy, when it, like the energy coming up from the feet through the dantian, coming out the back into the arms, I feel a difference in the arms, but it everything coming up until getting, kind of to the forearms feels just like, well, energy moving out to fill the arms up, and then kind of there's a directional component in the arms with where it goes from there.
So the 8 energies we think of as being expressed in the arms. That's right. Remember, the energies we feel in the legs are the energies of the 5 elements.
Maybe that's the piece I forgot.
So, for instance, when you go into follows where you have a follow step,
Yeah.
clearly the forward leg is the substantial full leg, and the rear one is the empty insubstantial leg, which is the one that the energy, is rising through,
Mm-hmm.
and the energy is going down the other one. So so you have that. You're always trying to make sure you have that balance between the 2 legs in terms of rising and sinking energy. But then there is more to it when we begin to think about it in terms of the 5 elements. So what elements are those? So it gets pretty complex.
Okay, so maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, which
Maybe.
I've never done.
No. No, none of us ever do that.
Yeah.
No, I would go back, see if you have the handouts. What I gave you, I think, were Master Joe's and a couple of other people's comments on the 8 gates. And you might go back and look at that, or if you had the Tao of Tai Chi Chuan, of course, it's in there from Master Joe.
Okay.
Although I have Jay and Lama's revision of that. I should look and see. I can't remember whether it's. I think there's quite a bit of difference. I ought to send you a copy of that. I'll look at that. But I do know I have sent you some information, so you might look at that.
Yeah, no, I'll review it.
Bruce's discussion of the first 4 energies, he doesn't go into the second 4 except when they come up, when he's teaching that. So, but his discussion of the first 4 is really good.
Okay. Well, sounds good, David.
All right.
Thanks for the discussion. It helps,
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm delighted to do it. I hope your PT goes well.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll let you know next week, what they say.
I hope your back resolves.
I think it will. It's been getting much better in the last week.
Yeah. That's kind of distressing to be told that.
Yeah. I mean, it was distressing, but also a little bit relieving, because there was kind of a sense of like, man, is this all in my head? Like, you see people working out at the gym and I'm like, is this how everyone feels when they're working out? Like, I guess everyone's just putting up with it. This is part of the process. Yeah, maybe not, maybe that's actually not the case. And
no, it's not.
There's no saying when that stress fracture really occurred, if it's just from too much like use and abuse and it's slowly built up over time, or if like one day doing construction, I did something, I mean, I've taken some pretty good wipeout skiing, and always stood up and like, okay, well, nothing feels broken, but maybe one of those was a little too much in that area and did some damage, so, or just, never really taking a good chunk of time off from doing all this stuff, construction and working out and
Yeah,
running and biking and skiing, and just like letting your body kind of have a recovery period. So who knows, but
I broke my clavicle and didn't know it.
oh, so wow. All right.
And I didn't know it for years. It wasn't,
Really?
it wasn't until I suddenly realized one day, oh my God, that's not,
That's
that's, there's a jog.
something's not quite right. So,
I think I know when it occurred, but
yeah,
so, you never know.
yeah. So
Well, have a good day.
say thanks, David. Good seeing you.
Good to see you, buddy. Take care.